How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination all revved up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from, I'm probably going to say this wrong, just so you know beforehand, Sulamith Wülfing. And the thing I love about her work is how ethereal she can create things. That's really, there's not a lot of people that I've ever seen that can do almost dreamlike drawings. And not to say kind of like the Salvador Dali way where you're really changing the way that you think about stuff, but something that makes it feel like it's not in the current reality that we live in. Like there's something ethereal about it, like it's in that kind of fog or mist of the midst of a dream, which I think is just beautiful and gorgeous. So let's take a look at a couple pieces from her. Like I said, the thing that I think she does the best is to add an element of lighting and backgrounds that are not fully rendered in the way that you would normally think something would be, but rather that it has this feeling that it could be anywhere at any time, and in any reality. Just gorgeous stuff. A beautiful sense of color, really unique anatomy, composition. I think just the way that she thinks is so different than most creative illustrators, for sure. That just like this piece right here, a mix of like a woman inside a butterfly with the moon or a sun behind it, and it's just, there's so much going on that, like I said, it almost feels dreamlike. And the fact that there's like a iridescent wing and then a solid wing behind there, it's so beautiful. It's hard to even put into words what makes that ethereal or otherworldly quality to her work. Just gorgeous. Really captures the imagination, for sure. Gorgeous stuff. I really like this piece too. And like I said, it's almost like there's a opaqueness to her imagery as well that kind of blends everything together and really makes the composition, rather than kind of layout, but rather a color and layered form of composition, which is really interesting. Gorgeous stuff. So I really encourage you guys to go check out her work. I don't feel like she's nearly enough praise for how great she is, and how different her view of things is than the typical illustration style. There's lots of kind of categories of illustrators, for sure, but I feel like she really has kind of a unique voice. And I believe this was 1900s, early 1900s. She was popular. Don't quote me on that. But there still hasn't been much that's really come after her that's the same vein, for sure. But I did want to share a quote with you guys. That was something that's at least attributed to her. I have left the explanation of the drawings completely to the viewer, so that they are not bound by my interpretation of what each picture should be. I thought that was really great. It goes back to kind of that aspect of creating any sort of visual medium, and I think anything creative in general, is that you want to make something in a way that's recognizable to your audience, so that even if they don't know exactly what it is, they have something that connects them to the work, that draws them in, that pulls them in, that lets them explore the piece and find the meaning in it themselves. Especially like with animation, you want to get your storytelling poses, you want to get those beats right so that it has the readability. I think we've talked about this before about, I don't want to misquote it, but there were a couple of Disney animators, like the Nine Old Men. If it's in that time period, it might not be specifically them, and they would talk about how one of them would have really precise, beautiful draftsmanship, and the other one would have a little more rough drawing style. And the goal was not about necessarily how clean your line work was or wasn't, but rather, is it readable? Can your audience connect with it? Do they understand what's going on? Can they put meaning behind it? Will they take meaning from it? And I think that stuff's really important. And like I said, with her work, it's one of those styles that really opens itself up for a little bit of interpretation and invites the viewer in. But there's also imagery that is you can grab onto, so you have some tent poles to stand on as you try to figure out what that image means to you. Beautiful stuff. So let's go ahead and get into some animation before I ramble on for too long about how much I love her work. This is the Beastmaster Beast rig. It's part of the Dota 2 collection of rigs from the Steam community. I'll throw a link in the description below if you guys want to play around with this one as well. And if you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for the rest of the video, I go off and I find a rig that I've never used before. It's a free resource for you guys to play around with, and we kind of go from there. A little bit of over the shoulder, just hang out with me while I animate. A little bit of talking through the process, but most of all, the main goal of doing these videos each and every day is to hopefully encourage you guys and inspire you to go off and create your own unique, amazing, imaginative, creative content each and every day, and to take another step in your journey towards mastering whatever medium it is that you're passionate about. So let's go ahead and get in and do some playing. Kind of a longer day today, so I think we'll stick with the cycle. But I was thinking what would be fun is do a real kind of low to the ground cycle. So I think I'm going to raise the back a little bit, but I'll lower the front here. I want to try and get a better line through there if we can. So let's see. Bring that down, bring that back up here. Rotate that up. Maybe we can go a little bit lower here. Low to the ground, bring that up. So we can get an interesting storytelling pose to start with. And bring that forward here. And that one forward a little bit more. This one forward. And this one go back. And I want to put these elbows a little bit lower. These bends, they don't feel like they work as good as I'd like, so maybe I need to go up a little bit higher. Be an okay pose to start with. Maybe we should splay the hands out a little bit further. Let's see. Just feel like there's a little bit of unclearness in the geometry there, but I think that's just a geometry problem rather than necessarily our posing problem. So I think we'll stick with that. Maybe push this one a little bit further back. Yeah, let's go ahead and kind of give him a little bit of a closed jaw and a little bit of an underbite there. Okay, so we could start with something like that. What about the ears? Maybe we'll pull them back a little bit more. Just to give a little bit more interesting character here to start with. Kind of would like to get the a little more curvature there. What if we did a little bit of tilt there, rotate, and then we can bring the head down and over. See, I think this looks better for the chest, but head's not going to work, so. I think the chest would look a little bit So let's see if we can maybe do just a little bit of that. We'll favor the posing rather than the geometry on this time. Normally I would say do the other, but kind of like having it low to the ground there. But let's push it even further. Okay. So let's go ahead and start with something like that. I'm going to save our file. We are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for today's video. For more information on that and all the wonderful products over at Autodesk and all the stuff we've talked about so far, check out the links in the description below. And let's go ahead and get started. We'll turn our everything off except for our NURB curves, NURB surfaces, and our polygons. We'll go ahead and grab everything, go to frame 0, and we'll go ahead and set our first frame. And let's start looking at these steps here. I'm going to stick with it. Kind of a typical 12 frame cycle here. And we'll flick between those ones. And as you can tell, as opposed to other times and other videos, I'm doing the front legs and the back legs separately instead of doing them on the same, because there's going to be less movement in the front legs than the back legs. So I'm not going to do those together like I normally probably would in a cycle. And we'll flick those. Alright, and let's look at the other one. Push it forward. And we'll flick between those two keys. And let's see how that's looking. Feels like it's maybe a little bit too forward. So let's open up our window animation editor's graph editor. And let's just pull that back just a little bit. Alright, and let's go ahead and grab all of the feet, and we'll just go back and lock in all of the attributes on those keys we just put in. So we're just going to hit S on our keyboard at each of these main keys there. So we hit all the attributes. And let's go ahead and lift that up on the passing position there. Up there. We'll point that down. We'll go to the other side. Lift it up here. And lift it up here. And let's see. Too high a step, so we'll cut those back by about half. An even amount between the two sides, so we're not doing higher steps on one side than the other. Not to be exactly even, but just a little more balanced. We'll scale that back about 25%. And let's see. It's alright. And this guy. To each one. But I think I'm going to go 3 frames before and we'll lift it up there. 3 frames before and lift that up there. Except I think I have the translates flipped here. So let's start off like this. I don't know why I did that. Then we'll look at our translate Y's. We need to push those to there. this side. And look at our translate Z's, and we'll start the other way. We'll go back. 3 frames from here, we'll go and lift it up, plant it down, lift it up, and plant it down. And let's go ahead and take these ones and translate Z's. Let's have this hit a frame before, so both of those will hit 1 frame before. And same with the translate Y's, just to try to vary the timing a little bit more from the front to the back steps. And this one, take our translate Y and Z, and push it forward a frame, push it forward a frame, and we'll add a little bit overshoot there. Let's see that now. And we'll delay these ones 1 frame. Let's do them individually though. Take that one, push it back a frame. No, I want to delay it a frame. That's what we're doing here. Key that, and translate the Z, and go and key that a little bit up higher. Alright, that feels a little bit better. And we'll take this one as well. And we'll push it a frame back. So give it a little bit of translate Z here. Scooch it back a little bit. So that not everything's hitting all at the same time. Alright, now let's start getting into some other stuff here. So go ahead and save all that, and let's look at the hips here. So I'm going to raise them up there, down there, up here, down there, up here, down there, up here, and back. I'm sure I don't want to do nearly as much was that, so let's scale it all back a little bit more. And let's see. Alright, now let's go here. And that one's going to go down a little bit there. Up here, down there, up here, down there, up, down, up, down. Let's see. Right, too much, but still in the right ballpark. And we'll tone all that down, and we'll offset the front as well. This will just loosen up that middle section a little bit better. Hopefully. Hopefully. And minimize it more. And let's see how we're doing. Alright. I think I want to do this one here. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and down. Okay, let's balance that out. I think I might try inverting it as well. See if that feels better for us. First, I'm going to just minimize it a little bit more because it's a little too busy. And let's see how that feels. Yeah, let's try inverting it, see if we like it that way better. Alright, it feels a little better. Go ahead and save that. Yeah, let's see here. Let's do a little bit of push over this way, over the planted foot, and vice versa. Bring it back, and so we're going to translate X here, cut that. Let's see how it feels. Right, and I'll grab the front, and we're going to want to push it over that planted foot, this way, that way, this way, and back. That way we get a little bit of that zigzag movement there, and let's balance those out a little bit better. And this one, did we balance that out already? That's pretty even. Okay, so let's see. Alright, and let's keep working those hips. Do a little bit of rotate Z, 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 back. Don't need that much, but a little bit. A little bit will do. And then we'll do a little bit of rotate Y to favor that front planted leg. This one, that one, this one, and back. we started. And let's clean those up. So we're not favoring one side over the other. I kind of like it being a little over-exaggerated. Not gonna lie. Normally I try to tone it down a little bit more, but I kind of like the movenness of the chest. So let's look at the neck here. A little bit of rotate one there, there, there. It's kind of offsetting this movement that we did in the chest. Not a lot, a little bit though. Yeah, let's see how that feels. Alright, and we'll do a little bit of rotate Z here. Okay, balance that out a little bit better. Like I said, not a lot, but just a little bit of looseness in the head. Let's see how we're doing. Let's look at the tail here. Right back. I don't know if we'll keep the same movement, but kind of like where it is. We'll see. Alright. I'll grab this section, kind of keep it swinging that same way. I'll probably tone this down once I get more stuff towards the tip of the tail. We'll work with that. We'll grab this one. We'll drag it back that way. And drag it back this way. That way. This way. And back. And let's see. Right. And then we'll look at the tip of the tail. And it should be swinging over here. And go back there. And I think I'll tone down this one a little bit more. And tone up the, or amp up the tip a little bit. So you get more of that exaggeration as it successively goes throughout the tail. And I think I'll throw in a little bit of rotate, or maybe not. Does this thing even work? Maybe this controller doesn't even work. Maybe it's just the other one. This doesn't seem, even if I crank this, that that's really going to do anything. Okay, so we'll go back to here. I think I'll throw a little bit of rotate Z in just for fun. chest a little bit. At least from this angle, it feels like it's a little too much. I kind of like the way it looks from the front, but it feels a little too much from the side. So let's take that. Rotate these down a little, couple notches there. And let's look at it now. Rotate Y's down a little bit more here. What we might need to do is actually tone it down in the hip itself. Yeah. So let's go back, take a couple steps back here. And we'll tone it down in the hip. Because this hip is kind of just like a root controller. It's doing everything. It's not just specifically like a hip. So let's see. Fix the whole body there. A little better. Still, we can turn down the translate a little bit more. Okay, and let's do a little bit of rotation here. Rotate up, rotate down, rotate up, rotate down, rotate up, rotate down, rotate up, rotate down. And actually, I think I'll move that to at 3 instead of having it hit at 6. And then we'll need to punch another one in here. Circle back to where we started there. And let's balance that a lot more and tone it down. We'll offset it in the chest here. Try and get a little bit of movement in the spine itself through doing this if we can. Again, let's try and keep this fairly balanced. Doesn't have to be exact, but a little more closely, just because otherwise it'll look like it's pushing on purpose rather than having it just be a side effect of the movement. Now, as you can see, we started a little bit lower because of our posing, so I'm going to want to raise that up a little bit more. So be something like that. Okay, and then we'll offset it here. And let's clean that up a little bit more. And again, if we don't like this, we can always get rid of it, but I think it'll help loosen up that movement. A couple of passes maybe at it. Let's see. Gives us a little bit of looseness up here, but the head's a little too much. So don't need nearly as much there. Let's cut just everything about in half there. inversely. Push those hips a little bit lower. Let's see. Let's make sure we're cycling correctly. There's something that's throwing me off there a little bit. Let's take everything and push it off a frame. Let's see if that's just the cycle. Let's watch it from this side and see if we're still getting that. Where are you, random key that's bugging me? I'm sure it's somewhere in here. It's just the translate Y's, maybe. Need to be balanced out a little bit better. Let's see. To watch it this way, see if we can find it that way. See, yeah, there's something there. What is it? It's got to do with the rotates, right? That was the thing we threw in there. Let's just tone that down more. Watch it towards the end. Feels better. See, there's just like a little jerk in the head movement there. I think that feels better. I didn't think it was the step. I'm glad it caused us to clean that up. A little bit better, because see, there's just that little shake forward in the head. It was right in here. It was just the we had these rotate axes exaggerated there and under here, so it's hitting really hard there. And now that we kind of found a little more of a medium ground to work from, it seems to be balanced a little better. But it caused us to go in and polish some other stuff up to try to get that out. Okay, let's go ahead and save our file now, and let's start hitting some of the extra stuff. So let's look at the ears. Okay, I'll rotate those. Just want the ears, don't need the head, thanks though. Rotate those down here, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and back. Okay, push back a frame and tone down to maybe only about 10% of what we have. Just too wiggly. But I still want a little bit of movement in there. So let's try that now. Let's push them down universally a little bit more, and then tone it down maybe another 10% or so. Let's get them closer there, just so you get a little bit of movement in there. Okay, now let's see if these fingers work from here. I know that the translation wasn't working, but let's see if the rotation does. Yeah, alright. Actually play up with some stuff in the feet here. Cool. So, let's go lock them in here. And then at 15. And 25. And then 39. Back, okay. So we'll go at 13, we know we want to raise them up here. And 36, we know we want to raise them up there. So what do we got? 9 frames in there, so let's go at 30. We'll drag them back. And 6, and we'll drag them back. Let's see how that feels. And I'll take this one, and we'll start at 1 frame sooner. And let's see if that's enough. If not, we'll delay this one a frame too. See if we like it better that way or keeping them closer. Let's see. We got like 2 frames in between. Okay. Kind of cool that we have a couple of toes to play with. Makes it a little more fun for me at least. So let's start off with them a little bit higher here. And then we'll zero them out there. Okay. Lock them in here. Set them there. There. Go back. Okay, and now we need to go 25, and we'll drag them up. And then drag them back here at about 6 frames in. And then about 6 frames in here, I'll drag them back. So let's look at that now. Okay, and we'll take everything on this one. We'll push it all forward a frame. And on this one, and we'll push it all back a frame. Okay, and let's look at the back feet and the jaw, and then I think we'll probably call it for there, because I'm guessing we're hitting pretty close to our hour mark here. Getting there. Hold at 12. And then at 23. Lock them in at 36. And back again. Okay. Actually, we want 25 because we're only a couple frames after. sure we're cycling there fairly correctly. Go push that another frame forward. And let's tone down those moves a little bit so we don't intersect with that elbow. And I'll take this one, and we'll push everything forward a frame. I'll save my file real quick. A little hiccup there. This one, we'll drag everything back a frame. So let's see. I think I'm going to take these ones and not have them pull back so far. So we're kind of intersecting that ground plane a little bit. And we can go up a little bit higher. And these ones don't have to be as high, so we'll tone them down a little bit more. I don't feel like this one drags enough. Maybe it drags too much. I'll just tone down that outside one a lot. We don't need a ton of movement there. Okay, and let's go to the other side. And we're gonna lock those toes in there. It's at 11, so we'll lock them at 13. Lock them at 24. It's at 36, we'll lock them in at 30. Okay. Go here. And rotate them up. And here, rotate them up. 5, we'll drag them down. And 29, we'll drag them down. This one, we'll take everything and push it forward a frame. And this one, we'll take everything and we'll push it back a frame. Alright, and I think following our example from the other side, let's tone down the outside a little bit more. Maybe it does need to be a little bit higher here. Feels like it's too jerky. That feels alright. Okay, now let's look at the jaw here. We'll do a little bit of movement there. Drag it here, lift it up there, drag it here, up there, here, there. And again, this is pretty over the top for right now, but we'll come back to it and adjust it. of what we have, just so we get some movement in that jaw. So we don't have a lot of stuff we can play with in the face of this character. And let's see how that feels. Alright, and then also, what I want to do with this one, let's do a little bit of translate Y here. I'll go down, up, down, up, down, and up. So it's not only rotating, but it's actually translating in the jaw here. And again, don't need a lot of that. We're going to cut it down to about 10% of what we have. And let's see that. Okay, let's keep cutting it down. Maybe about half of what we have right now. It's just still too busy. Still a little too much. There we go. Like I said, just so we can feel that there's some chewiness there. Alright, I think that'll work for today. We're probably hitting pretty close to our time slot for today. So, let's take a look back at where we started. We're looking at the beautiful work of Sulamith Wülfing. And she said, I've left the explanation of the drawings completely to the viewer, so that they are not bound by my interpretation of what each picture should be. I think that's a great goal to have as any sort of creative person, is to put your work out there and let it speak to the audience as its own thing, rather than having to blab on hours and hours about it. I mean, there's one thing if you're like teaching or talking through the process or something like that, but once something's done, whenever, I don't think you can ever have a piece of work that's ever done. I think it's always, well, I can twist it here, I can push it there, I can keep going, but I think if you have to really explain your work a lot, or, it's kind of that mentality of when you were little, you draw a picture of like a dog and you show it to your mom and she'd be like, oh, that's really, a little kid talking or showing it to her grandparent or whatever. And be like, oh, that's nice, sweetie. What is it? If you have to do that and you have to explain it, I think there's, not that you have to do something that's for everyone all the time, but there needs to be some element of, the viewer being able to look at it and appreciate it. For how it speaks to them or what they see in it, rather than having to tell them what they're seeing in it. And then I think that goes to speak to, if your work is successful or not as well. And it's, a lifelong process and something that I would never claim that I'm an expert on at all, but just something interesting to think on or ponder for the day, to let your work speak for itself. And I love you guys lots. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for all the likes and subscribes. You guys are amazing. I love you lots. I hope you took another step in your journey towards being happy with your life and mastering the medium and delving into adventures in imagination and creativity. And I'm getting rambly. I love you lots. You're wonderful. You can do it. I believe in you. And we will see you for some more animation tomorrow.